It always happens around the same time. The room is quiet. The world is asleep. And suddenly, so are you no longer. You open your eyes. Look at the clock. 3:07 a.m. Again, you lie there wondering what woke you. No loud noise. No full bladder. No bad dream. Just awake. And once you're up, it's hard to go back down. Your mind begins its slow spin. Grocery lists, old regrets, vague worries. You shift your pillow. You sigh. You glance at the clock again. 3:28 a.m. You ask yourself, why does this keep happening? You're not alone. In fact, waking between 2 and 4 a.m. is one of the most common sleep disruptions among adults over 50. And it's not always insomnia. It's not always stress. Sometimes it's your body trying to send a message. A quiet one. A gentle signal that something inside needs attention. Because in those early hours, when the world is dark and your mind is unguarded, your body speaks differently. And it pays to listen. This isn't about alarm. It's about awareness. Because the truth is, your body is wise. It remembers what you've forgotten. It holds what you haven't had time to feel. And when it wakes you up at 3 a.m., it may be asking for something more than sleep. That's what we're going to explore today. 6 quiet reasons your body might be waking you, and what each one is trying to say. These aren't random. They're backed by science, by real-life experience, and by the rhythms of a body that's still very much alive and paying attention. We'll talk about blood sugar, hormones, emotions, temperature, digestion, even spirit. And for each, I'll share small, practical shifts you can try. No pills, no pressure. Just a softer way to meet your nights. Because sleep after 60 isn't just about how long you're in bed. It's about how safe your body feels being still. And when you understand what's waking you, you stop blaming yourself and start responding with care. Let's begin with something that surprises many people. A reason most don't consider. It starts not in your thoughts, but in your blood. When you wake up at 3 a.m., there's a good chance your body isn't anxious. It's hungry, not for food, but for balance. And we'll explore that first. Most people don't associate blood sugar with sleep. They think of it in terms of diabetes, energy, or food cravings. But blood sugar, especially when it swings too high or too low, has a profound effect on nighttime rest. This is the first reason your body may be waking you at 3 a.m., a silent blood sugar crash. Here's how it works. Throughout the day, your body uses glucose for energy. When you eat balanced meals, your levels stay stable. But if your dinner is high in carbs and low in protein or fat, like pasta, white bread, or sweets, your blood sugar might spike. At first, this feels fine. You're full, maybe even sleepy. But a few hours later, your body starts to panic. It senses that blood sugar is dropping rapidly. And when that happens, it activates your stress hormones, especially cortisol and adrenaline. These hormones do exactly what they're supposed to do. They wake you up. They tell your body, something's wrong, fix it. The result? You wake suddenly, heart racing, mind alert, sometimes with a light sweat, sometimes with vague anxiety. And you don't know why, but your body does. It's trying to stabilize itself. The fix isn't dramatic. It starts with rethinking what you eat before bed. If you're used to skipping dinner or just having tea and toast, your body might be going too long without real fuel. Instead, try this. Eat a small, balanced meal 2 to 3 hours before sleep. Include protein, fiber, and healthy fat. Something like half a turkey sandwich on whole grain bread, Greek yogurt with berries and chia seeds, or a small bowl of lentil soup with olive oil. If you tend to eat early and still feel hungry by bedtime, try a tiny protein-based snack before bed. A spoonful of nut butter, a slice of cheese, a handful of walnuts. Avoid high-sugar snacks or refined carbs. They might feel comforting, but they set the stage for a crash. Sarah, 71, told me she was waking up at 3:15 almost every night for months. I thought it was anxiety, she said, but I wasn't actually thinking about anything. I just felt off. Her doctor suggested a nighttime snack. Now, she has a small bowl of cottage cheese with cinnamon and flaxseed before bed. It's like my body stopped sounding the alarm, she says. I stay asleep now. It may take a few nights to notice a difference. But when you start giving your body consistent nourishment, and especially when you stop going to bed with a roller coaster blood sugar, you give your nervous system permission to rest. This isn't about eating more. It's about eating smarter, especially in the evening. Because sometimes the thing waking you isn't emotional. It's metabolic. And the way you eat can either be a lullaby or a trigger. Now, let's move to the second reason you may be waking. It's not about what you ate. It's about what your hormones are doing behind the scenes. Even if you feel calm on the surface, your body might be shifting internally in ways that nudge you into wakefulness without asking first. Let's look at that next. Your body has its own timing. Long after you've gone to bed, it's still working, adjusting, repairing, balancing. But some of those internal shifts can spill over into your sleep, especially as you get older. This leads us to the second reason you may be waking around 3 a.m. Hormonal changes that affect your internal clock. As we age, our levels of key hormones begin to shift. In women, estrogen and progesterone drop significantly during and after menopause. These hormones don't just regulate cycles, they also help maintain steady sleep. Estrogen has a calming effect on the nervous system. Progesterone acts almost like a natural sleep aid. When they decline, sleep can become fragmented. You might fall asleep easily, but then jolt awake in the early hours, unable to settle again. In men, testosterone declines gradually, and low testosterone has been linked to disrupted sleep, particularly during the second half of the night. But both men and women also experience changes in melatonin and cortisol, the two hormones that govern our circadian rhythm. Melatonin tells the body it's time to sleep, but as we get older, we produce less of it. Meanwhile, cortisol, which should be lowest at night, can become dysregulated, spiking too early in the morning. The result? You wake up before your body's truly rested. And sometimes that wake up feels mysterious because your mind is quiet, but your body is on alert. So what can you do? First, be gentle with yourself. This isn't about fixing your hormones. It's about supporting your system as it naturally changes. Here are a few small shifts that help. Reduce light exposure before bed. Bright lights, especially blue light from screens, can delay melatonin release. Use soft lighting in the evening. Go to bed at the same time each night. Your body thrives on rhythm. Avoid intense conversations or upsetting content in the hour before sleep. Emotional stimulation can spike cortisol. Consider herbs like magnesium glycinate, passion flower, or ashwagandha. They support relaxation and hormone balance, but check with your doctor. If you're postmenopausal or dealing with major sleep disruption, speak to a healthcare provider. Low-dose hormone therapy or natural alternatives might be worth discussing. Judy, 68, shared that she began waking up at 3:30 a.m. sharp every night after menopause. I wasn't hot, she said. I wasn't anxious. I just woke up. She started dimming her lights an hour before bed and added a magnesium supplement. I didn't sleep like a teenager, she laughed, but I stopped waking up in the dark every night. These shifts may not solve everything, but they bring ease. And when you support your hormones instead of fighting them, your body begins to trust rest again. Sometimes, though, the reason you wake up at 3 a.m. isn't hormonal or physical at all. It's emotional, something unprocessed, a feeling you didn't finish feeling, a memory that lives just beneath the surface and waits until the world goes quiet to speak. We'll explore that next. There's a certain silence at 3 a.m. that's different from other hours. It's not just the absence of sound, it's the absence of distraction. And in that space, when nothing is pulling at your attention, the things you've tucked away often come forward. That's why the third reason you may be waking up in the early hours is emotional residue. Feelings that weren't fully processed, thoughts you pushed aside during the day, fears, memories, grief, unfinished conversations, regrets that stir when everything else is still. Your body remembers what your mind tries to forget, not to punish you, but to protect you. Because unprocessed emotions don't vanish. They wait. And when your guard is down, when the house is dark and your breath is slow, they rise and they knock, sometimes gently, sometimes loud. You may not even realize it's emotional. You just feel restless, vaguely sad, anxious without a reason, or flooded with thoughts that make no sense but feel urgent. This isn't a flaw in your character. It's a function of being human, especially in later years when so much has been lived and not everything has been fully laid down. So what helps? First, know that you're not broken. Waking up with emotion is not a sign of weakness. It's an invitation to listen, not ruminate. Listen, here are a few gentle ways to meet it. Keep a small notebook or note card by your bed. If a thought or feeling won't let go, write it down. Sometimes putting it on paper allows your mind to rest again. Practice what's called naming without solving. When you wake, try saying to yourself, "This is sadness," or "This is old fear." Just name it. Don't wrestle it. Let it pass like a wave. Try a body-based calming technique. Press one hand to your chest and the other to your belly. Breathe slowly. This brings comfort and recenters your nervous system. During the day, give yourself time to feel. Journal. Walk without music. Talk to someone. Emotions that are met in daylight don't need to sneak in at 3 a.m. Tom, 75, said he started waking up regularly a few months after his wife passed. "I was keeping it together during the day," he said, "but the nights got loud." A grief counselor suggested writing letters to his wife before bed. "I didn't even know I had that much to say," he said. "But after writing, I slept more peacefully." Sometimes healing happens in pieces, and the body nudges us toward the next piece gently. The work isn't to push emotions away. The work is to create space for them, so they don't have to keep waking you to be heard. Of course, emotions aren't the only silent influence. Sometimes the body is dealing with something physiological, something more mechanical, like your internal thermostat being out of sync. If you're waking up drenched in sweat or chilled to your bones, your body may simply be overheating or underregulating. That's what we'll look at from another angle. You turn over and feel it. The pillow's damp. Your shirt clings to your back. Or maybe the blanket's kicked off and you're suddenly cold, too cold. You pull it back up, shift, try to settle, but the spell is broken. You're fully awake. For many people, especially after 60, the cause of 3 a.m. wake-ups isn't emotional. It's thermal. The body's delicate internal thermostat is no longer adjusting as smoothly as it once did. This makes temperature regulation the fourth common reason for middle-of-the-night awakenings. During sleep, your core body temperature naturally drops to promote rest. It reaches its lowest point around 3 to 4 a.m. But as we age, the body's ability to regulate that cycle weakens. Sweat glands become less efficient. Circulation changes. Hormonal shifts, especially in postmenopausal women, can cause hot flashes or night sweats, even years after menopause. And sometimes medications make it worse. Blood pressure drugs, antidepressants, and even some common pain relievers can interfere with thermal stability. For others, the environment plays a role. Heavy bedding, synthetic sheets, a mattress that traps heat, a closed bedroom door that doesn't allow airflow. All of it matters, because if your body crosses a certain temperature threshold, too warm or too chilled, it reacts the only way it knows how. It wakes you up. So what can help? Begin with your bedroom. Lower the thermostat to 65 to 68 degrees Fahrenheit, 18 to 20 degrees Celsius. Research shows this is the optimal sleep range for most adults. Invest in breathable bedding, natural fibers like cotton, bamboo, or linen. Avoid heavy duvets if you tend to overheat. Try layering lighter blankets instead so you can adjust through the night. If cold is the problem, consider warming your feet before bed, either with a heating pad, a warm bath, or cozy socks. Warm feet help dilate blood vessels and encourage your core body temperature to drop, which makes falling and staying asleep easier. Another tip, avoid hot beverages or heavy meals right before bed. They can raise your internal heat when your body is trying to cool down. And if medications seem to be playing a role, have a gentle conversation with your doctor. Sometimes changing the timing of a dose makes a real difference. Ellen, 73, said she woke every night around 3 soaked in sweat, even though menopause was long behind her. "I thought it was just me," she said. She switched to bamboo sheets, opened her bedroom window a crack, and added a lightweight cotton nightgown instead of polyester. Within a week, her sleep improved. It wasn't dramatic, she said, but I stopped feeling like my own body was working against me. And that's the goal. Your body doesn't need to fight sleep. It needs the right conditions to trust it again. And when temperature is no longer an enemy, the nights become quieter. That said, there's another internal system that can still throw things off, especially if you're lying awake with pressure in your stomach, bloating, or restlessness. A part of your body that works hard while you sleep, and when it's irritated, often wakes you without warning: your digestive system. Let's turn our attention there. Sometimes the reason you wake up at 3 a.m. isn't emotional, hormonal, or even mental. Sometimes it's your body simply still working quietly, persistently, trying to process a dinner that was too late, too heavy, or just too difficult to digest. After 60, digestion changes. The stomach becomes more sensitive, enzyme production slows, and food that once felt harmless now lingers. You might not feel full or bloated when you go to bed, but somewhere around 3 a.m., your body reminds you it's not done yet. The system is still active, still sorting, still working harder than it needs to while the rest of you is trying to sleep. And that's where the imbalance begins. You turn over, your breath feels shallow, you shift your legs. There's no pain exactly, just a vague unease, a restlessness in the belly, a heaviness in the chest. And without knowing why, your body wakes you, because it still hasn't had the chance to rest itself. This is why the timing of your evening meal matters more than you think. Eating late pushes digestion into your sleep cycle, and instead of repairing and restoring, the body is digesting. Something as simple as moving your main meal earlier in the day, or choosing a lighter, warmer dinner, like soup, gently cooked vegetables, a bit of protein, can be the difference between sleeping through the night and waking to discomfort. And it's not just about what's on the plate. It's how you transition toward rest, giving yourself at least 2 hours between your last bite and your pillow, sipping something calming instead of sugary or acidic, letting the body know, without urgency, that it can begin slowing down. Because when digestion slows gently, sleep becomes possible again. But even when you've adjusted your meals, supported your hormones, calmed your emotions, and cooled the room, there may still be nights when you wake. And not because something is wrong, but because something inside you is still calling. A kind of quiet spiritual stirring. Not religion necessarily, but a feeling of unfinished reflection. A whisper of meaning that hasn't been met. It might not come with thoughts or words. It might arrive only as a feeling, an ache in the chest, a sudden awareness, the simple fact that you're awake in a way that feels deeper than physical. Many people report waking at 3 or 4 a.m. and sensing something they can't explain. A memory, a sadness, a message they don't yet understand. And in those moments, it's easy to feel afraid, to resist, to reach for distraction. But what if you didn't? What if instead, you greeted the moment gently, sat up, placed a hand on your heart, and simply said, "I'm listening," not to fix, not to answer, just to witness. Maybe it's something you forgot to grieve, or something you're finally ready to forgive. Maybe it's the quiet voice of your soul reminding you that you're still here, still becoming, still allowed to feel. You don't need to stay awake. You don't need to act. Sometimes naming the presence is enough. Sometimes lighting a candle, saying a prayer, or taking 3 deep breaths while touching your chest will calm the system enough to return to sleep. And even if it doesn't, you'll have turned the hour into something sacred. Not restless, not wasted, just true. So if you've been waking at 3 a.m. and wondering what's wrong with you, maybe nothing is. Maybe your body is asking for a shift, a breath, a lighter meal, a softer evening, or maybe it's offering you something, a message, a memory, a moment that's ready to be seen. In any case, your job is not to fight the night. Your job is to listen. Thank you for being here. If something in this resonated with you, we'd love to hear in the comments what your nights feel like and what has helped. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and come back again. We'll keep exploring together, quietly, gently, and always with care.